was a man, let's call this man Yossi, and he came to a certain town for Shabbos, and he gets invited to a family for the meal, and during the meal, he has this soup, and it's not your typical soup. It's the best soup that he's ever had in his life. And not only is it the best soup that he's ever had in his life, it's the best food that he's ever had in his life. And he can't believe how good this soup is. Like, he's traveled to many places. He's been invited to many people's homes before, but he's never had such a soup. Like, this soup is unbelievable. This food is unbelievable. And he is just amazed by the soup. So the meal ends, and it's time for him to leave town and to go back to his home. And while he's traveling back home, he realizes that he didn't ask like the recipe of the soup. Like, he can't believe that he forgot to ask the recipe. Here he had the best food that he's ever had. It was amazing. It made his Shabbos amazing. And now he forgot to ask, and he doesn't know what to do. So he can't go back to the town right now because he has to work and he has to get back to his family. So a couple months go by, and he continues on with his life and his family, but he doesn't forget about this soup. The soup he can't forget about. So he decides, next time I have time for vacation, I need to go back to that town, and I need to find the woman who cooked the soup, and I need to find the recipe for the soup. So he goes back into the town, and he finds her husband, and he says to the husband, you know, you had me here a couple months ago. So sweet of you to have me as your guest. And the soup that your wife made, it was the best soup that I ever had. I need to know the secret of the soup, the recipe. Can you please tell me? And he said, I don't know the recipe. You have to ask my wife. She should be outside the house, sitting on a chair. So he goes to the house, and sure enough, the wife of this man, the woman who made the soup, is sitting on a chair, and she's reading Psalms. She's reading Tehillim, the holy prayers that were mostly created, that were mostly sung by King David, as well as some other people that's very holy to say these prayers. And she's crying. And when the man approaches her, he doesn't want to interrupt such holy prayers. She's crying. You could tell that she's praying with all of her heart. And when she's done praying, the man waits by the side, like he doesn't want to interrupt her prayers. And when she's done praying, he says, "Excuse me, you had me here as a guest a couple months ago, and this soup that you made was unbelievable. And can you please tell me the recipe? I've been wanting to know the recipe for months." And she says to the man, I can tell you the recipe, but the truth is, I don't put anything special in it. So she tells him the recipe, and he goes back home again. He's very thankful to her. He thanks her, and he goes back home, and he tries to make the soup, and he does exactly what she said, but it doesn't taste like her soup. Like it's good, but it's not that amazing soup. And so again, months go by, and he has to go on with his business. And he says to his wife, "I have to go back to this town. I have to find the secret with it. This is not the soup. It doesn't taste the same." So he goes back, and he finds the family again, the husband and the wife, and they invite him into their house. And he said, "I did what you said, Rebbitzin. I made your soup with that recipe, but it didn't taste the same as yours." And she said, "But that's the recipe. I gave it to you." And she doesn't know what else to tell him. She gave him the recipe already. And the husband of the wife who made the soup realizes something. He says, "My wife does Tehillim. She does Psalms every single day. And sometimes, even after she's done praying, she still has tears in her eyes, praying for the people of our world, praying for everyone, praying that everyone will get along with each other. And sometimes when she prays, her tears, they go into the soup. They go into the food that she's making sometimes, because she's always thinking about other people." I think the reason why that you enjoyed the soup so much when my wife made it as opposed to when you made it was because of those tears. And sure enough, not on purpose, but just the who she was and how holy she was, they have the guy again for Shabbos, and she makes the same soup, and sure enough, like her tears, like they go into the soup, not on purpose, but just she's such a holy woman that like she's constantly, even while she's cooking, she's thinking of other people from her holy prayers. And once again, he tastes the soup and he says, "This is the soup," and he thanks them, and that's the end of the story. So what's the lesson of this story? It wasn't actually a certain recipe that made this soup amazing. What made this soup amazing was that this woman was such a holy woman that she prayed and she sung these psalms with all of her heart, with all of her neshama, with all of her soul. And it would, therefore, everything that she did when she would cook, if she had tears that were still left over, and if they happened to go into soup or any other part of her food, it would make that soup holy, and therefore it would make it taste all the more special. We could all learn from this that we could all strengthen our prayers, and it will help everything else in our life not only be better, but taste better.